everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Team Lead Talks podcast. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming the Grant Johnson Group out of Arden Hills, Minnesota. Welcome, everybody.
Hey,
thank you.
Thank you.
Good. So let's get right to it. Typically, I only have one guest on here, but I have the pleasure of having three amazing teammates from the Grant Johnson Group. Can each of you just take a minute and introduce yourself and let us know who you are and what your role is with the group?
Sure. You ladies want to go first?
Sure. My name is Amber Urlacher. I am operations director and sales director.
My name is Tammi Roach, and on the team, I do attraction and growth.
And I'm Grant Johnson, and they've taken over most of my role, so I don't do as much as I used to.
Well, welcome, Amber, Tammi, and Grant. I appreciate your time this morning. So looking forward to a great episode. So let's just dive right in. Grant, I've been taking a look at your social media, your website. You've got quite the impressive team, and I know you just gave credit to the two ladies on the call with us today. But could you just walk us through your team structure, or maybe Tammi, I think you're a little responsible for that as well. Can you walk us through how your team is set up and how you're able to, run and operate such an amazing team up there?
Well,
you said it.
Go ahead,
right.
Brian. Oh.
I was going to say, you said it right, Andrew, that it is these two. It's not me. When they took me out of the equation, it really did increase and everything is going better. But Tammy's role is attraction, and she is the one that is building, and Amber also does a little bit of attraction, but is helping grow the agents. They both do the mentoring, the growth. I think we're at 47 agents today. Is that right?
Give or take a couple.
2 years ago, we were at 15.
Wow.
And right now, they're adding 2 to 5 agents a month onto the team. And so really, I can't take the credit. It's them. But we are a team. They basically run it. My job is lead generation and ancillary services now.
That's awesome. Yeah, Grant, I think it was a comment that you made in one of our Facebook groups, real estate teams, about how you and your team are recruiting 2 to 5 agents per month, correct? Is that right?
That is pretty accurate. I think Tammi had 3 last week. So
wow, that is very impressive. There's a lot of excluding lead gen, there is a lot of talk in all of the groups, not just ours, about how to recruit, attract, retain agents on their team. And for you guys to go from 15 to 40, and you said 2 years?
Correct. And the goal by the end of this year is to be approaching 100.
Wow. I think we should unpack this and kind of get an idea of how the heck Tammi and Amber, you all are doing this. That is an amazing. I don't know if I've ever talked to anyone on Team Lead Talks that has that impressive of a growth in terms of your team. But before we get into how you do that, could one of you just explain kind of how your team org chart is set up with I'm assuming you have agents with the team that big. There's got to be support staff and coordination efforts. Could one of you just walk through the current landscape?
Yeah, I can say we run incredibly lean for a team our size. And I think we're very proud of that. We have transaction coordinators, but we rely heavily on experienced agents to be mentors and pod leaders. So no new agent is out there struggling alone. So they have somebody with them for their first 3 transactions. I still have agents that have probably a dozen transactions under their belt who still will send me purchase agreements saying, hey, can you just review this? So that just falls under a pod leader then. So you go from a mentorship level, then you're given a pod leader. You have accountability meetings with me as they continue to grow. And as we continue to grow, they're going to be organized under pod leaders. And that's who is going to be holding them accountable. And you've got accountability partners built into that. So as we continue to go down, those pod leaders just then continue to go under me, and they report to me, and it just, a pyramid down.
So a pod leader is an agent on your team that has assumed a managerial role with agents underneath him or her?
Yep.
Okay. And is that part of your efforts to attract where there's growth for that agent? Can you walk us through how that works when you're talking to an agent, and a lot of people want to see how they can grow and work their way up the team ladder. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, Tammy, do you want to touch on that when you talk to an experienced agent?
Yeah, basically what we're doing is we are attracting, I mean, first and foremost, I think that game has changed a little bit and it's more about culture. It is about actual teamwork, even though most agents are individual 1099s, and really changing that mindset of people. So when then we're talking to, let's say, a seasoned agent, that's a different ball game where maybe they don't need the mentorship, but they are going to have the accountability and stuff like that going in. When we're talking to maybe a 2 year under or brand new agent, the conversation is going to be such that, you know what, you are not going to be on your own. There is a safety net. Taking the classes for licensing has absolutely nothing to do with what we are doing out in the field.
Right.
So when you come in, you need to know how to write a purchase agreement, how to open a lockbox, how to make a phone call, how to do some scripting. So all of those things, what we've done, there's a lot of experience and a lot of fail forwards between Grant, Amber, myself, a couple other partners that we have on the team, that we've done this for a really long time. And so what we're trying to do is just create the culture and the growth that these agents can go ahead and do with a very specific system. And you know what? We know every agent's going to fall off that system once in a while, and that's where the accountability and mentorship and pod
Mhm.
leaders come in. So as much as people don't want accountability, they do. It's like a gym membership. If you know that you have a gym membership and you're going to go and you can wake up in the morning and say, nope, I'm not going. But if I know that Grant is going and he's expecting me to be there, you know what? I'm going to probably have to go just because I know he's going to be counting on me. And that's what we're trying to do within our team is everybody has skin in the game for everybody else.
That's awesome. I am, if you've watched an episode or one of our clips before, I always talk about what I call playbooks, but you mentioned your system or standard operating procedures. Sounds like you all are dialed in that regard from when you attract someone and kind of walk them through, but is there a system of like, okay, here's day one and this is what you're getting trained on, and how regimented is that?
It's very
Very regimented.
regimented.
So
Okay.
day one, I mean, basically we have a couple people right now that are in class and they have courses 2 and 3 yet to take, and they are already in, our system that's going to bring them along to growth. So they start in and they have a playbook. We use a couple different systems and they get plugged right into it. So they have homework to do. They have a checklist. They have to meet with Amber, myself, our lead coordinator, our marketing person, our TC team. So I like to call it a passport. So they basically have a passport to make their way around the team and meet all the people that are going to be, rooting for their growth and supporting them and helping them so that they know what that person or that system means while they're going forward. So it is very regimented. And then they have accountability with Amber every single week, whether they like it or not, to go ahead and go over some of those things. And then we have a team on the broker side as well that supports us.
That's awesome. So Tammy, how from the time somebody comes in as a new agent on your team, how long does it take them to go through your university of here's how we operate and here's what you need to learn to be successful?
It really depends on the person. We really try to set it up and keep track of them, but sometimes, you know what, you have some blips along the way or some turnpikes. And so it really depends on the person. But if somebody comes in and they're doing everything they need to do, we like to have them. New agent, it's going to take 10 to 14 days just because of our state commerce aspect. But a seasoned agent, we want them up and running in just a few days, type of thing. So we will go ahead and get them put into our systems. They have a to-do list and an accomplishment list on there that they have to get to. If it's somebody brand new, we want them, on lead generation within, I would say, probably 2 weeks, because there is some training they have to do. So that's a pretty short amount of time. A new agent or a seasoned agent could be up and running in the programs and lead generation within just a few days. All dependent
That's
upon
awesome.
the person.
And I'm assuming these agents, Right, right. I'm assuming, the ones that hit the ground running show the most success. And then, Tammy, you had mentioned, as they're going through this, Amber, you play a pivotal role here too, where I think the comment was whether they want to or not, you're going to be held accountable by Amber. Can you walk us through, Amber, what that looks like?
Yeah. So my rule of thumb is if you have not sold 40 homes in your lifetime, you need to be meeting with me weekly. So they're partnered up. They have their accountability meeting. Every week we're going through what were your goals? Did you hit them? So right now, like Tammy said, it's if one person fails, you're failing together. So they've set their goals. Our first deadline is February 9th. If one person fails, they both fail. They don't get their prize on February 9th. So it's this pressure of I can't let my teammate down because if I fail, they fail. And so every week we're meeting, we're going over how many calls did they make, because we can track all of that in our CRM. I know how many hours they're spending making their dials. I know how many text messages they're sending. They can't lie about it. It's all in front of us. But it's their opportunity to be really honest about what they're doing. And then it's our opportunity to say, okay, what are we having problems with? What's scripting? What are your wins for the week? Let's celebrate those too. And just, it's really that one-on-one time with me to really address some concerns and refocus ourselves, and then work with their accountability partners. The other thing is team leads aren't just given, they're earned. And so if you're not doing what needs to be done when you haven't sold those 40 homes and you're not doing your stuff, I can turn you off at any time, right? Like that's just part of the gig. Mm-hmm. So if you're not honoring certain lead sources that have certain requirements, you're going to be turned off.
That's excellent. I love the accountability part. I truly think that is a huge differentiator from teams that do that and teams that don't. Teams that don't do that are opening themselves up to a lot of risk, right? Of what's happening on my team and where the lead's going. And then before you know it, no capital is coming back into the company and you're in big trouble. So I'm a big fan of what you all are doing in terms of staying on top of them. And I think, I forget who mentioned it before, but people on the team like that and appreciate that. They want to know people are paying attention and are there to support them. So it's awesome that you all are doing that from essentially day one. Amber, I did have a question for you about, if one person doesn't meet the goal, then the whole team fails. Is that pod that you're referring to? Is that how you kind of track these goals and whether they hit them or not?
So they were able to pick small accountability partners. So at most, we've got groups of 3 or 4. So I've broken them into it's a half an hour session, per group. So yeah, it's small pods, and that's their partner. And a lot of them, they become friends, and so it's good. They're doing role playing together, and it seems to be working really well.
That's awesome. So if we can, I'd like to go kind of back to before you have a new team or a cohort of people coming through your onboarding. So you went from 15 to 40 agents. That's a pretty big increase in team size. But how on earth are you getting in front of all these agents in your area? How are you,
It's a lot of dumb luck.
Are you hosting webinars? Are you doing...
Just dumb luck.
Dumb luck. Okay. Can you explain with 25 people?
Dumb luck. Yeah.
Honestly, it's probably not my thing to say, but we've always run ads through Wise Hire, so we do attract a lot of new agents that way. Tammy has years and years of experience in the attraction part in this area, so she knows. Her and I both, and Amber's been in the business over 10 years. We have a lot of relationships, so relationships matter, right? That makes a huge difference. But I will tell you, yes, Tammy, you can tell them all about your weekly seminars that you do that are virtual and live, and we get people applying online, and it's a relationship. We're working all angles. But Tammy, how many meetings a week are you taking?
Probably 4 to 6.
Tammy's frozen.
4 to 6 a week, and then I'm doing. We have a day in the life. We call it Day in the Life series, and so we kind of kicked that off here in the last 60 days. And I will tell you, it is selfishly for time leveraging for me. I can't meet with 10 people a week and take those hours. And so if they happen to be new people, we have a couple different webinars set up that they can just say, hey, Saturday at 10, pop in. I'm going to tell you all about how to become a new agent, what it is to have a lifestyle career, on and on. If it's a seasoned agent, you know what? Those are long-term, relationships. Those are kind of like dating. You're not going to happen the first day. So a lot of it over the last couple of years for us has been very organic, just because of some other stipulations that were there. But now it is just reaching out to people. It is truly using some of the relationships in which we've had over these past couple decades in our marketplaces. And the EXP business model doesn't hurt either. So
it's a win-win. It sounds like, are you all at the point now where the effort to get people to join your team is less, like they're coming to you now at this point? Or is it still kind of a mix of you still need to go out and find them and show them the value proposition that you bring?
I think it's
we want
always
to
going to be a
attract.
mix.
I mean, we don't want to
do
go
get
hunting.
people approaching us.
Yeah. But I mean, we
but
want
we
to
do have
gather
people we've had
for
recently.
what's a right fit for us.
So
I think let's redo. You kind of were talking at the same time. Tammi, you want to take that one?
I think what's changed in that attraction game is the actual word attraction, not recruiting. I mean, it's kind of like feature dumping. We can go out there and feature dump all day on somebody, but we really want to attract somebody that wants to be a part of our culture, of our systems, wants to play nice in the sandbox, because there's nothing worse than getting somebody in and spending all of our time and energy on them. And then 3 or 4 months later, they don't work. And don't get me wrong, real estate has attrition. It does. So we understand that. But, giving them a very clear path and expectation from the get-go, by the time they talk to me, by the time they get to Amber, meet Grant, all of those things, there's a very clear understanding of this is hard work. We don't give commercials and say, you know what, we're going to give you $1 million and you're going to have a new boat. No, you're not. You know what? If you want to work and you want to build wealth and you want to make a difference for your family and fund your life, then let's do it.
And you kind of have that franchise model or that out of the box model to say, hey, we've been doing this for a long time. If you want to follow our systems and our processes, you have a pretty good shot, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of testimonials from new agents that have joined us in the last couple of years that all of a sudden they're like, okay, I get it. And they're successful because they took the playbook, they understood it, and they went with the playbook, no matter how uncomfortable it made them feel. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game and we are salespeople.
Mm-hmm. And I think Brent had mentioned there's a mix of people reaching out to you versus you reaching out, kind of getting and staying in front of people. I'm wondering, though, what's the mix of new agents in your area knowing about you and saying, hey, these guys are successful and I want to go join a winning team versus that seasoned agent? Is it, split? Is it heavier on the new agents wanting to join such a successful team already?
I would say it's probably more new agents right now versus seasoned agents, just because seasoned agents, Amber, Grant, and I were seasoned agents at other business models. There's there's always a pause. There's like, am I going to do what's right? I don't want to change. Now it's spring market. Now I'm too busy. There's always a plethora of excuses. So they're curious. I will tell you that, because there's a lot of text messages and, hey, do you want to have tomorrow night I'm going out for drinks with somebody. And they called me. I'm like, sure, and right. I know what it's about. It's not about going out and having a drink. They're curious, so sometimes it's doing those curiosities. And what we do is we use that social media. I can be a little sassy, just a little bit. So, throw some things out there and just pique their curiosity and let them know the truth of what we're doing. We're a pretty quiet team. We haven't been loud until yesterday when Grant came out with a magazine cover. So now we're loud and everybody's like, who are they? I think some eyes are opening.
So Just to take on that a little bit, I think the one thing that we really are offering right now to a lot of people is opportunity. So last year, so many realtors were hurting, right? Their business was down. They were struggling. Our team was up 42% in a market that was down 26%. And there's a reason behind that. It's the opportunity that we have right now. And by opportunity, it really comes down to lead gen. Agents are hurting. They need leads. We've been blessed with some really high quality lead sources. And I think the opportunity is what the experienced agents are looking for. We just had 2 agents that are both 10 plus years in the business that had sold 30, 40 homes on their own that joined the team. And if I'm wrong now, Amber and Tammy, you guys talked to them, but I think they came for opportunity.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So Grant, as when we started this conversation, you mentioned you've kind of stepped out and you let Tammy and Amber run the operations and the attracting. And I think you had mentioned that your main focus right now is that lead gen aspect of it. So lead gen, yes, it's a huge topic of discussion. If you go online, it's all anyone is really talking about right now. Where are the leads? How do I get more leads? So you continue that opportunity. Kind of two-part question here, Grant. How are you all maintaining that consistent lead flow? And then can you walk us through how the leads get used or, divvied up on your team?
I can handle the lead flow part, and Amber does the divvying up of leads, so she can take that. But realistically, we've been blessed. One of my mentors in the business, his name is Mike Gerbic. Mike has taught me a lot about marketing and lead generation, where we've been blessed to do a lot of organic stuff. But then our team's also really blessed that we're a Zillow Flex team. And Flex has been huge for us. We also do a lot with Realtor.com. I'm never going to lie to anybody. We are a lead purchasing team. That is what we are. We try to do some marketing and do that, and we get some stuff that way too. But we are truly a lead purchasing team. And then Amber, you know how you divvy it all up because I don't even know.
Yep. So with our Zillows, we learned very quickly that there's something called Zillow burnout. So we can't have everybody just receiving Zillows every day. So you get X amount of days, and that's going to be based off of your conversion. If you're not converting, you don't get access to them. You need to be working on your scripting. You need to be working on your conversion. Otherwise, you're just not going to be a part of it, plain and simple. Zillow is fantastic as far as the training that they provide us. And so there's always more opportunity to continue to get better. And so that is something that we would require that they continue to go through more training if they want to get back on those lead sources. Then we just have massive quantities of leads that people can be prospecting from. And so it's really about helping people understand the difference between outbound versus inbound and understanding the difference of the scripting that you need to be able to flip that switch in your brain. So those that you understand are nurtures. And so you're understanding, just how you speak to them. So you're setting those appointments, and then you understand that a Zillow is a low-hanging fruit, and you can set those appointments quick. And so you have to be able to do both. And so it's really training to both sides of those lead sources to maximize. And turning people off when they're burnt out. You can't just have people hoarding leads.
And then starting now, we're also we also
go ahead, Grant.
We use YLOPO also for our, like a lot of our PPC stuff, and we are starting to use their voice AI, which if you haven't looked into that, it's absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're going to be doing with that and the kind of scary aspect of the whole thing, but in the conversations I'm having with them, and this all is just recently launched. But the AI will actually make, I think it's 1,000 dials a day or something like that through your database and handle your leads that come in. And then they will direct connect to your agents when the people are ready to talk to an agent. So we are going almost all AI based for our ISAs now.
Oh, wow. That is so the AI that they're going to be rolling out soon will actually have conversations with others on the other side of the phone.
If you have not listened to it,
direct once.
Yes, it'll direct
that is
connect.
Nuts. That's pretty cool, though.
So
Yeah,
It's really
that's
freaky.
awesome.
It's really freaky.
Our team too, Grant, it is pretty freaky. Have you heard it successfully have like a real conversation with someone?
yes,
Yes.
yes, it is
And
incredible.
set up the appointment for me like a couple
Wow.
Saturdays ago. I
Wow,
like screen
that's
because I
crazy.
can't
Yeah,
believe it.
it is scary, Grant. Yeah. So on Grant, you mentioned your lead purchasing group or team. We are as well. We've always been big in Google PPC. I think we spend anywhere from like 10 to 15K a month on PPC. We're also sending direct mail. I think we've never stopped really sending our direct mail since we started our team back in 2013. And it's been a really consistent lead source for us. But one of the biggest things we ran into, or the biggest issues, was our agents almost got complacent with how many leads or appointments we would be giving them. So leads would flow in on our team, and I'm interested to hear if you had this problem, or Amber, you mentioned they get cut off at a certain point or if they're not converting. But we were really good at lead gen and still are, and really good at setting appointments. And they would get, an agent on our team might get 5 to 10 appointments in a 7-day period, and then go on them, not sign them, and kind of just say, oh, well, didn't sign that one, but I'm going to get more. So very early on, we thought we had a lead gen problem. We realized we had a conversion problem. And then we started tracking that data and that analytics to say, hey guys, look, Grant, you went on 20 appointments this month and you signed 2 of them. And then the other 18 you didn't sign, there's no evidence that you even followed up with them. So we quickly realized we needed tech to help with that and to start tracking conversion and what they had going on. So I'm curious, Amber, what are you seeing in terms of, you give Grant 10 leads or 10 appointments. How are you monitoring him and knowing, that he's following up with them the right way, the team way that you expect when you're giving out these leads? Because I'm sure you have your cost per lead, cost per appointment numbers, and you know how expensive it can get. Can you walk us through how that works on your team?
I wish there was a perfect way to track everything. I would say Zillow's probably the best because at its core, it's a data company, right? Like they have everything. You can look at everything from appointment set, met, showing, everything is tracked. So Zillow's great. That I know. From our other database though, that comes down, that would be where we really have to dig into the weeds a little bit more. I know when they're calling from the system, that would be key. They can't be calling from their cell phones. I need them calling from the system. I know when they're texting out of there, things like that. That would be where the accountability meetings would come in to know exactly how many they're setting.
Mm-hmm.
My goal from them is I tell them they need to be setting 2 appointments a week that are non-Zillow leads to stay on pace. So that's always going to be their goal. But once again, it's going to come down to what is their individual goal. I can't set that for them. I'd love to, but not everybody's going to want to sell 40 homes a year. So that's where you have to say, okay, I need to meet them where they're at. Are they going to be a 40-year producer or not? And so maybe that's just not their goal, and maybe they shouldn't have that many leads.
How are you giving an agent on your team? And I guess there's 2 different types of agents. There's the agent that might want to do 10 and, to each his own. Then there's agents on your team that, like you mentioned, want to do 40 plus. Mm-hmm. How are you, or kind of walk us through, you give agents leads and then you expect these appointments, but the ones that don't convert into a lead or a prospect to an appointment, what happens to those leads? Where do they go? Or do you kind of have a lead pool that you just let everyone dive into? Can you walk us through those leads?
We have a lot of different ponds, and people are always welcome to go fishing in those ponds. You're not going to have access to my seller leads. You're not going to be on Zillow's more than, maybe a weekend for overflow. You're not going to be on, more than 2 days a week or 1 day a week. I need to tether you. If you're not converting, you're not going to have access. You can go fishing all day long. You can do open houses. But I have the ability to set which leads you have access to at all times.
Cool. And you mentioned converting. You mentioned the leads to appointment conversion of 2 per week, I think you said. But are you also tracking appointments to signed agreements? And do you have a minimum for agents on your team if they're not meeting that minimum standard? Is that the cutoff where you're not giving them leads anymore?
We don't. That's really going to be the next phase, because at this point, when I've got new agents, setting an appointment is their first win.
Okay.
My focus for them is they need to understand. And what I didn't care if that buyer was not going to be pre-approved for 6 months. They were signing that buyer's rep. Like, that was it. That was practice. I was going through that scripting every time, because they need to understand that's what's going to help them get better. That's what's going to help them memorize that and continue to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I want them doing, is just going through it, getting them to sign it. Because if you turn that paper and you just say sign here, 95% of the time that person's going to sign.
Right.
So I don't care if they're not buying for a year. You're going through that full process, because that is practice, and you need to continue to do that with every person you're meeting with.
Right.
And so that's the next phase of that training, is get over yourself, get those nerves, out of the way. But right now it's focus on getting those appointments set. We know 50% aren't going to show.
Mm-hmm.
People were so conditioned with Zillow appointments, they didn't know how to prospect. And so we have to first focus on flipping that into a prospecting mindset. And now we're setting appointments.
Gotcha. So out of curiosity, are you all tracking conversion of when an appointment is held to a signed buyer or a signed listing? Or is that not a KPI that you all have today?
For our Zillows, Grant, you want to talk about that?
We use FUB. So, everything is tracked in FUB. So it is all in there. Our real focus, though, right now is appointments with our agents. That is number one. For so long, we've been a low-hanging fruit team.
Mm-hmm.
That has been so easy. I hate to say it, easy. You answer your phone, you go on an appointment. It's really not that difficult.
Right.
And that is the reason why I want to switch to the AI for setting appointments for agents. My whole goal is to make the agents are really basically only on appointments. Right. And I don't know on your team if you run ISAs or not. We have in the past. ISAs are hit or miss. I mean, you go overseas, you don't know what you're going to get necessarily. And sometimes locally, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You get a good one and it's great. But if we can switch all that to AI driven, we can control it at a much lower cost.
Right.
So what we're able to do then is my whole goal with the agents is they truly are only meeting with people. They don't have to do a lot of follow-up. I want it to be everything on our team to be a low-hanging fruit approach. So if I can even take a PPC lead that needs 12 months of nurturing or whatever it may be, and I can nurture it through AI and then basically transfer it to the agent when the people are ready, I believe our whole team will be better. And some of these KPIs we're talking about, I don't need to track as much because I'm just making it really simple for the agent. And that's our goal.
Yeah, that's super efficient. And Grant, to answer your question, at any given point on our team, we have 3 to 5 ISAs. And yes, there's been a lot of attrition and turnover there. We've gone overseas. We've gone, in the United States, Midwest, all over to find great ISAs. It is incredibly difficult to find great talent, incredibly difficult to retain. But what kind of turned from, having an ISA start and then 2 weeks later not hearing from them again is our playbook. And we have it. So Amber, you mentioned like they can't call from their cell phones. We have that too. So we have business lines and they make out of our CRM, they make calls. And our rule on our team is if you don't call out of the CRM, then it didn't happen, right? Mm-hmm. You could make 250 calls a day from your cell phone, but the rule and what's expected is you make it out of our system because it records duration, average time, records all the calls. And then on our weekly ISA meetings, all of our ISAs need to come with 3 phone calls that they have recorded that they want to share with the group. And at random, we'll pick them and listen to them and kind of say, here's a great approach, or, why didn't you ask them this? Open-ended questions, get the appointment. So holding them accountable and having that training on a weekly or bi-weekly basis really turned the, I don't want to do this anymore because no one's even watching me, to like, oh, they're paying attention and I'm buying into the system and I'm doing great and I'm succeeding. We're looking into, Grant, AI, like a Woo sender. They have pretty cool AI features too. It's a little scary, and we just love our ISAs. They've been with us for quite some time now. But what we do is we do lead gen at the top level. Our ISAs answer the phones, and then our agents, for the most part, probably 95% of the time, just get appointments put on their calendar. And all their job is to do, obviously they need to follow up with, if I meet you, Grant, I'm not going to push it back to an ISA. I'm going to follow up. But we're trying to compartmentalize our different roles and, responsibilities on the team, so agents can focus on being agents in the field. ISAs work through that pipeline. But I know AI is coming and it's going to make a lot of people efficient. And I say this a lot, but I truly believe that the teams or agents out there that don't buy into the AI game won't be around for that much longer, because, Grant, you're going to start setting appointments in your area at 24/7 person talking on the phone versus someone that's going to be doing it 2 or 3 times a day. Over time, that is going to snowball to a massive differentiator, and the other people not kind of buying into AI won't know what hit them.
And what you just said, right now is your time to grow market share as a team. In what everybody's saying is a down market, it is the time to grow. And my whole career, I've been doing this over 25 years. We even owned a couple of brokerages in the past. You always grow in the down market. And so you're going to see attraction is going to be huge, which is what this whole conversation started about. But attraction and giving the agency opportunities like you're talking about. And whether it's AI or an in-person ISA, whatever's going to work best for your team, because there are so many different ways to do this. I mean, I have a friend that sells over $100 million a year in real estate, all off social media. So there's so many different ways to do this. It's whatever path you choose, you stick with it and you go for it.
Right. Yeah. I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head. The biggest thing I really think is like consistency, whether it's, doing PPC, doing direct mail. There's a lot of shiny object syndrome in real estate. Like, oh, this new lead source, I got to get on it. They do it for 2 weeks and it doesn't turn into anything. Out of curiosity, Grant, how long have you guys been doing your, Zillow Flex? I believe it's invite only at this point, but
Correct.
You mentioned PPC. Could you talk about your 3? I have an idea that Flex is one of them, but your top 3 lead sources, and just letting everyone know how long you've actually been at it with these individual sources.
Well, Flex is one of our top, obviously, and that's been almost 3 years now. In our market, there's 6 Flex teams, and I forget, is there 4 million people in the Twin Cities? So there's a lot of very few Flex teams, a lot of Flex leads. I put OpCity in there as a very similar category. Realtor.com is Flex. It's the same type of lead. PPC has always been huge for us. I've done PPC for 15 years. So we have a relatively large database. I think it's approaching 70,000. And so, I mean, those are a lot of PPC stuff. That is a huge one for us. Obviously, Sphere and Past Client is always going to be the easiest one. And that's another big one for us. I would say those are our top sources. We have some other ones that we have that get a little something here and there, but they don't convert at the same level and things like that.
Right. Have you decided at any given point for the ones that fall outside of your top, just kind of putting them to rest and just focusing and being very lean, or are you still kind of dabbling in like the one or 2 low-hanging fruits from those outside
If we
sources?
don't pay for them, if I don't have to pay monthly, we'll continue to dabble with it. But if I have to pay monthly, no, we won't.
Okay, got it.
So,
and then you mentioned doing PPC. We do PPC. We take a little bit different approach on our team. So our team is a retail team, and we also have the ability to pivot for direct purchasing as well.
Yep.
We'll probably do like anywhere from 30 to 50 direct purchases a month, depending on, the month and what's happening in the economy and all that. But our approach to PPC is like the cash offer. I'm curious, your PPC, what are you doing PPC for your retail team? Like, how are you getting out there?
We do both.
Okay.
So we have the guaranteed cash offer program too. I don't know who you use. We'll either buy them ourselves or we'll use Zoodealio.
Okay.
So one of the two. So we do that through PPC for cash offers, and then we also do buyer business for cash offers or for PPC also.
Okay. So you actually use PPC for retail approach of cash buyers.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do both.
I've never had success with that, and we use our own company. We've been doing PPC for the last 5 or 6 years, and we've gotten really, really good at it and spent probably close to 7 figures every single month doing it. But we were on, I won't name them, but we signed up for different PPC providers, and it was a lot of quantity, but the quality wasn't there. So we really wanted to laser focus on that. So we got our CPA down to about, cost per acquisition, sub 200, which has been fantastic. And we're in the Washington, D.C. area. So I'm not sure what your average price point is, but ours is about $899K. And then we have a really good investment, return on investment there. So it's like a 5, 6, 7X on our PPC campaign. So we've never dreamt of turning it off. That is one thing that I think, like direct mail, consistency wins there. If you can convert and you can actually get a return for every dollar, $3, $4 for every dollar you spend, I'm never turning that off unless we get out of real estate completely. So 15 years doing PPC, that's incredible. Have you been doing that same campaign approach the entire 15 years?
No, it has to change a little bit over time. When did the guarantee cash offers come out? A few years ago, right? I mean, before that, it was if we don't sell your home, we'll buy it. That was the big approach for years, right? So we've never done it ourselves. We've always used vendors to do it. I've never had the time to learn it and necessarily want to dig into it. It's just not what I want to do.
Right.
Realistically, I'm spending more time now on mortgage and title, which is a little more exciting to me. But we've always done very similar. Most of the time, for the longest time, was after buyer leads. And we all know 30 to 40% of a buyer lead also has a house to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can get a lot of listing business off of that. Our market is very flooded with cash offers. I mean, there's billboards. There's probably 200 billboards up in our market right now, all looking for cash.
The cash offer.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a very flooded approach here. It does still work, obviously.
Right.
And what is the percentage? Maybe 5% of the people take the cash offer.
Yep.
And
I think, Grant, the ability to pivot or at least offer that as an option to a homeowner, that's massive. I mean, again, kind of like teams not really jumping on the AI bandwagon, or maybe it's not a bandwagon because I think it's going to be here to stay. But the agent that goes in and says, I can list your home and here's how I can do it, versus you all or our team going in and saying, hey, we can list it, or if you need to sell it yesterday, keep this in your back pocket. Here's how this works, but here's how listing it works. We can also renovate your home and, have that plethora of options from A to Z. That's how you truly stand out.
It's exactly what we do. You go out there with 2 to 3 cash offers for them, and plus your CMA, and this way you can get on the open market. Here's your difference. What works best for you? Because it's not about us; it's about the client every time.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they going to do? What's best for them?
Yeah, a big part of that conversation when you're in front of them, or if you have that conversation over the phone, is listening to their needs, right? A lot of the cash offers to us, I don't know how it is in your market, but some of them were an inherited property, and the person doesn't even live in the same state and doesn't want to travel to DC multiple times to meet people. They kind of just want a solution. So if you can offer them 3 or 4 different options for their solution, they're going to be like, man, this team really knows what they're doing. I'm going to get well taken care of. And then obviously you have to have the operation behind the scenes to deliver on that. But that's what I think in today's world of, leads being sparse and, agents having a tough time getting new clients, you have to have that additional option line of revenue it's an opportunity cost, right? Either you do it or you don't, but there's going to be 10 other people behind you that will be able to offer that to people.
And you can buy it yourself, or you can bring a cash investor in, however you want to work it out. We have local cash investors, the national ones, or we'll buy them. If it's the right deal, we will buy it
Right.
and do it ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, you have the flexibility almost to cherry pick leads that come in that you're getting direct, right? And you can decide, what's the best, obviously listening to the homeowner and what they want to do, but you can decide what's the best way forward. Just explain it in a very concise, articulate manner so you're not confusing them with all these options, because I think that's also a problem that I'm hearing from a lot of agents, like telling them too much and then they're overwhelmed and they just go with like the simple option. So that's a big part of our conversion training. We do a lot of role play around that, so we don't shoot ourselves in the foot.
And we have one agent that handles that on the team.
That's another really good point, Grant. So for teams out there that are pivoting and kind of opening up your playbook here, maybe choose your top 1 to 3 agents that you trust. Kind of like Amber, you mentioned, not everyone gets Zillow Flex. There's certain caliber of agents on your team. When we first started this, and maybe it was too premature, maybe not, I don't know, but just not a good fit to have every single agent on the team with all these options at their disposal. So you want to kind of have a pod of Zillow Flex or a pod of PPC. The way we did it on our team, and we track conversion. So we know in our system when it's been assigned to Grant and whether he signs it at the appointment or not, or in the future. And we base everything off of a 30% benchmark, maybe 35% now. But if you don't even hit that, you're not eligible for these. They know the best lead sources, right? And you get the phone calls directly to your phone. It'll say, Google PPC or direct mail. And they know when that phone rings, whether it's worthwhile or not. Maybe Yard Sign is like, maybe I'll let someone else answer it. But Google PPC and some of our other top lead sources don't go to everyone. I think that's super important too, because before you know it, you kind of open up the whole pool to everyone and you have no clue what happened and there's no conversion, right?
And the opportunity is earned, it's not given. You have to earn the opportunity.
Right. Yeah, one of the things on our team, going back to my comment when our team kind of got complacent, is we started tracking lost deals. And for those of you not doing this is an eye opener. So we did a few million in revenue of maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but we started tracking because our team would say, where are the leads? Look at this lead source, it's not converting. And then we're like, well, hold on a second. This direct mail postcard that we got in January just came on with Compass in June for $2 million. But, agent on the team, you called them once at the end of January, and then there's no evidence of ever happening again. So it's not that. So we started having our lead manager track religiously what would pop open on our MLS. We just had a drip, like every single off market coming soon or active would get sent to him. And then he would cross-reference that in our platform or our CRM and say, hey, we had 123 Main Street. Click, here's how much potential revenue we lost. And we racked and stacked that on a 1 to N list of all of our agents. And it was big and it was eye-opening. It was like, oh my gosh, why we would have been out of business if we didn't start doing that. So that's when we sort of implemented like, hey guys, this is how it's going to work from now on. You have to hit this minimum. If you don't, work your sphere, work your open houses. It's on you at this point to kind of go from 20% to above what our minimum was. So that is huge. I think if you all don't track it, not just you, but anyone listening doesn't track it, start tracking that level. And you'd be surprised. There's a lot of holes in your business that you can plug by just simply tracking that, and then you're moving in the right direction moving forward.
It's one of those things you start crying when you start tracking that stuff.
I had like a panic attack. It was something that I thought that I was doing wrong. Like, we need the better lead sources. Where's the best one? And it's not true. There's not like the best lead source, right? It's when they come in, how are you tracking it? How are you keeping an eye on it? And what are you doing to convert it? It's like going back to the shiny object syndrome. There's no secret lead source that only 10 people in the United States know about. It's just consistency and having, again, Tammi, that playbook in place, the SOPs in place to know when a lead comes in, this is exactly what happened. So if something does go wrong, you at least can pinpoint that because you have a process. If it's 6 steps, you say, well, did you do step 1, step 2, step 3? Oh, no, you didn't do step 3. Okay, what can we do to make sure step 3 happens the next time? But if you're just shooting from the hip without a playbook or without any idea and kind of treating each lead differently every time, that's when you get into real trouble.
And making sure your CRM is constantly updated, because otherwise you're not going to have the data you need to know where everything's at.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In ours, every single lead source we have, it automatically flows in and it gets tagged as Zillow, as BPC. From the get-go, I think having the technology and stopping short of that, you're also shooting yourselves in the foot. Because what happens? You get 10 leads today, 5 tomorrow, 15 the next day, and then before you know it, you have 50 leads, and you're like, well, which ones are in our CRM and which ones aren't? But if they're just flowing in automatically, take advantage of the technology stacks that we have today and have it tell you proactively. We don't have to look at anything. Our system just proactively tells us everything we need to know to make really smart data decisions based on what's working from a marketing perspective and a people perspective as well.
In the unpopular opinion, we all know realtors are not great at follow-up. Let's just be honest. It's just a fact. My whole career, I'm amazed how many realtors don't even follow up with a sign call in the past.
Right.
I remember when I started in real estate, the guy that was the number 1 agent at the office told me, if you want to make it, dig through my garbage can and call the phone numbers that you find in there. Yeah. That's what I did for the first 6 months. And that really worked.
Yeah. It's a consistency thing, guys. Like any lead, if you're consistent and you follow up, it's either going to happen that same day or in 2 years if they're really going to make a move. Just in general, I think people move every 5 to 7 years. So if you have, Grant, you mentioned, I think you have 70,000 people in your system. Imagine that with your, I don't know if YLOPO can do this, but plugging it into an AI to follow up with these people 24/7, 365. That is going to churn through pretty quick, and you're going to be, again, ahead of the people not taking advantage of that new technology. And then you're going to see a huge influx in your appointments. And then as long as they're following your amazing process you already have, your conversions are going to go through the roof.
And you want to attract agents? There you go. We have more appointments than we can handle,
Right. Bringing this kind of full circle, I mean, also part of attracting, retaining, and keeping your people happy is that right there. Imagine if I was a team leader and someone came to meet with me and I didn't have a system in place. They're like, well, what can I expect in the first 30 days? I was like, I don't know. Kind of the same concept of following up with your leads consistently. You need to have that professional look and feel for the agents that are considering making a really big decision, going from a team they're on or as a solo agent into the Grant Johnson group, right? So imagine them coming to me and they're like, well, what system do you use? How do you follow up? How does this work? And I'm like, we just do whatever. And then they meet with Tammi and she walks them through the super professional presentation of here's how you're going to be successful. And here's people on our team that have implemented what we're doing. They're going to choose you every single day.
That's what we're hoping.
It takes a lot of time and effort, I'm sure, trial and error to get to that point. But once you're at that point, that's when you're going to balloon from 15 to 40 to, I think earlier in the conversation, Grant, you had mentioned your goal at the end of this year is to get to 100. And then it almost just starts to be like word of mouth from your 100 agents. And people will ultimately see you as like the place to be.
Again, that is the goal. 100% there. No pressure on Tammi, but it is the goal.
Yeah. So maybe
one agent who's been here, one of our agents has been here maybe 2 months, but she's already brought 4 people with her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
she's just so excited. She's so excited. And we do that as well. We're like, you guys go sing your song, because sometimes hearing it from me, sometimes people don't want to meet with me because they're like, oh, she doesn't. And you know what? Go tell them how it works. And what I do, I just did this last night. I put 3 or 4 people, Amber was one of them, on an email of somebody of a small brokerage. And I said, give them a call, and, hopefully Amber's saying something nice, but, but go ahead, give them a call. So it's just not me that you're hearing it from.
Yeah. I think that's a big help. I mean, credibility, right? So you can get in front of them, but if they hear from an agent already on the team that hopefully they already know, like, and trust, it just makes your all's job that much easier. And then they're gonna hit the ground running that much faster. So you guys should take a lot of pride in what you built. I'm super impressed with how you're bringing on so many agents. Love to check back in. I know I've taken up a lot of your time this morning, and again, I appreciate every little nugget that you've shared. Hopefully someone can pick up on at least one thing that could potentially change the way they run and operate their business. That's always the goal here. But thank you so much for your time. I'd love to check back in with you at the end of the year to see if you've hit your 100-person goal. That would be really cool. Just listening to how you guys operate, if I was in Minnesota, I would definitely join the team. It just sounds like you have your stuff together. So congratulations on all your success, and thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Grant, just before we go here, if someone is in the Arden Hills, Minnesota area and they're looking to either join a great team or looking for services, how would one get in touch with you?
They're going to call Tammi anywhere in Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Western Wisconsin. And Tammi, what is the best number to reach you at?
Well, that would be 612-802-0696. And you know what? They can go to our website. We have a lot of different things out there. So, they can call anybody on our team, to get a start on the information that they're going to need to their future success.
And what is that website URL?
The team website is grantjohnson.com, and then there's also careers at grantjohnson.com.
Okay, cool. And we will be sure to share this in the description of the episode. So if you are thinking about joining an amazing team up in Minnesota, please reach out to Grant and Tammi and Amber. Thanks again, guys. This has been fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.